We are racing in the first race of the day, day 7 of the 2019 Aon Sydney International Rowing Regatta. There were originally a 7:30 and a 7:35 race, the F finals of the schoolgirls and boys single scull. Those races have been removed from the program. So the opening race is 4:67. It's the E final of the schoolgirls single scull. There was a scratching from the lane 1 sculler here, so a field of 6. Lane 2, Madison Joins of St Paul's Grammar. Lane 3 is Sarah Lai from PLC Perth. Lane 4, Claire Robinson from Colo High. Lane 5, Maddie Lamb of St Mary's, Tasmania. Lane 6, Sarah Reynolds of Kinross, Walleroy. And lane 7, Pippa Hand from PLC Perth. And 8, Olivia Teasdale of the Cardinia International College. The cruiser, the scullers through the first 500 metres, heading towards halfway. And here's Owen Nix.
And Maddie Lamb was the race leader through that 500 metre mark in lane 5. That's the sculler right in the middle of the screen there. And led in 2:06.86, 3.12 ahead of Claire Robinson of Colo High, who's in the lane alongside of her. Then Madison Joiners of St Paul's Grammar in lane number 2 is there in third spot, just 0.18. Or 0.81 in arrears. PLC Perth, Pippa Hand, followed by Sarah Live, also of PLC Perth, and then Sarah Reynolds of Kinross Walleroy, and Olivia Teasdale of Cardinia International College was in 7th position. So on screen we have Maddie Lamb of St Mary's, Tasmania. And this E-final will decide places 32 onwards. There's only 7 in the D-final, if you're wondering why those maths work out that way. So the E-final will decide places 32 to 39, with one sculler missing from this one. So we have Maddie Lamb continuing to lead, coached by Mark Stott, and she's out to a good clear water advantage coming through the 1,000 metre mark. 4:21 through the 1,000 metre mark, continuing to lead from Colo High's Claire Robinson. And further 8.3 seconds back, Madison Joiners, her club mate, and they both throw out of Penrith Rowing Club. She's from St Paul's Grammar in lane number 2. Further 1.53 back, Sarah Reynolds of Kinross Walleroy has moved up from 6th through to 4th. Then follows the 2 PLC Perth scullers that have swapped order, with Sarah Lai leading Pippa Han and Olivia Teasdale of Cardinia International College further 9.93 seconds back in 7th position.
These exhaustive finals, though, and obviously providing valuable racing experience here for these scullers in the E-final, giving them a further chance to do a 2,000 metre race here on the Sydney International Regatta Centre. So a series of E, D, C and B finals to open today's proceedings, and that will help us to rank the athletes over the course of these events before we get to the medal races in a couple of hours' time.
Yeah, and really different to going to a usual regatta like a weekend regatta where you just, race for 9 minutes or something in one of these and then, de-rig and put the boat on the rack, and here you get a chance to string together a few races, talk to your coach in between, go out and train in the morning and see where you can make improvements throughout the course of the week. So a really good, valuable learning experience for these young athletes.
Certainly the Maddie Lamb has come a fair way from the St Mary's School in Tasmania, and it looks like she can go back and say she won a race on the Sydney International Regatta Centre as she approaches the 1,500 metre mark now.
Yeah, and see on screen it's a good way forward and good at opening the hips and getting that body swing to really work for her. She starts to make her way up towards the bridge, which is just shy of the 1,500 metre mark. They're in the white Wintec boat, and she's well clear.
Having a good look at both sides too. I think she's only got to look behind her because she's well clear. She's got 3 or 4 lengths on the rest of the field. And in the middle lane there, she'd have a good view back on the remaining 6 scullers in this race and can keep watch on any danger if it does appear in the closing stages.
Yeah, she's probably hoping that they're blocking the sun out of her eyes as well. So certainly roaring in here this morning. And you can see the drone using the sun there to really highlight these scullers on the footage as they've made their way through the 1,500 metre mark, with Claire Lamb reading. Sarah Reynolds, this has been her best performance so far. She's now moved up from 4th to 2nd. Really strong third 500 metres. Claire Robinson in 3rd for Colo High. And Madison Joiners of St Paul's Grammar 4th. Sarah Lai of PLC Perth in 5th. Pipperhand of PLC Perth in 6th, and Teesdale of Cardinia International College in 7th position.
Certainly conditions out there a lot better than when we left the course yesterday afternoon. Of course, the sprint regatta unfortunately not taking place yesterday due to some pretty strong winds, about 50 kilometres an hour at one point. It was really quite messy out there on the course, as you would have seen if you were watching the races in the early afternoon on the live stream. But Penrith's turned it back on with perfect conditions so far this morning. It is fairly chilly outside, about 12 degrees I think still at the moment, so a refreshing morning, but great conditions for these scullers. And Maddie Lamb of St Mary's, Tasmania, continues to very comfortably lead this race, the E-final of the schoolgirls single scull, looking for, as Owen said, positions 32 onwards in this event, and Maddie Lamb has been comfortably in front for most of the distance of this race.
And Sarah Reynolds, 3 out from the grandstand or southern side of the, bottom of the screen. It has had that really strong second half of the race. Colo High, Claire Robinson to see with the really strong emphasis on the back end of the stroke. She's there in 3rd spot. And Madison Joiners over on the far side for St Paul's Grammar there in 4th position. Just ahead of PLC Perth, Sarah Lai, who's had a good second 1,000. But it will be Maddie Lamb that will take out the E-final of the schoolgirls single scull to place 32nd in this event.
Great race for second here too between these next two scullers.
Yeah, Robinson, Claire Robinson of Colo High just starting to put her bow back in front of Sarah Reynolds of Kinross Wallaroy. So Claire Robinson of Colo High in the dark blue will take 2nd spot. Sarah Reynolds 3rd, 4th Madison Joiners of St Paul's Grammar, Sarah Lai of PLC Perth 5th. Han of PLC Perth in 6th, and Teesdale of Cardinia International College in 7th.
So it is as Owen called them across the line there. First place, Maddie Lamb from St Mary's, Tasmania, wins the E-final of the schoolgirls single scull. 2nd, Claire Robinson. 3rd, Sarah Reynolds. 4th, Madison Joins. 5th, Sarah Lai. 6th, Pippa Han. And 7th place across now from Cardinia International College is Olivia Teesdale. The unofficial time there, 8:53.45. And a big margin of 13.74 seconds between 1st and 2nd place. As we move on to the next of our E-finals, already halfway down the course, just a field of 4 in this race. It's the E-final of the schoolboys single scull. Lane 3 is Thomas Clark from the Brisbane Boys College. Lane 4, Aris Sikovitsis from Penley and Essendon. Lane 5, James Wilson from the Friends School. And lane 6, Harvey Guest, also from Brisbane Boys College in Queensland.
Good race going on between Brisbane Boys' Thomas Clark, coached by Andrew Clatworthy. He's the race leader and leading by half a boat length from Penley and Essendon Grammar School's Aris Sikovitsis, coached by Trevor Wilson and Cindy Neenan. And these two have moved out clear of James Wilson of Friends from Hobart, Tasmania, and Harvey Guest of Brisbane Boys on this side of the course. So they're moving along in numerical lane order, with 3 from 4 from 5 from 6, but good tussles as this field moves along in batches of 2. So Brisbane Boys, Thomas Clark with the advantage as they start to make their way up towards the 1,500 metre mark. And a good third 500 also coming from the other Brisbane Boys sculler, Harvey Guest. He's now started to move ahead with a bit of a push late in this third 500 from the sculler from Friends, James Wilson. So Brisbane Boys, Thomas Clark leading through the 1,500 metre mark in 6:13.53, 1.5 seconds ahead of Aris Sikovitsis of Penley and Essendon Grammar School. And they're followed by Harvey Guest, Brisbane Boys, and then a further 2.81 seconds back to James Wilson of Friends. So this will decide 30 to 33 ranked scullers in this event. And you can see the two on screen, the Brisbane Boys sculler Thomas Clark, shorter stroke and sort of a little bit more minimalist than you'll see from the effort being put in there from Aris Sikovitsis. Really trying to get out there for a bit more length and row these long strokes. So we'll see who's got a turn of speed here as they past the bridge just prior to the 1750 metre mark, because there's only less than a boat length separating these two. So we'll see who can really come home strongly and finish off this E-final well and get that 30th ranking in the schoolboy single scull event. In the race for third spot, Harvey Guest has moved out to a good bit of clear water over James Wilson of Friends. The Friends sculler, though, he's really started to shorten up and increase his rating. So he's taken it a bit easy during the middle of the race, and he's trying to come home with a grandstand finish here. He's got the rating up about 40 strokes a minute. They're really short strokes, but there's plenty of them coming in here in this last little bit. So certainly something to keep the early morning crowd excited about in this E-final of the schoolboy single scull. But ahead of the field, the rating's much lower and length longer. And Thomas Clark of Brisbane Boys is set to take out this E-final. Half a length ahead of Aris Sikovitsis of Penley and Essendon Grammar School. They placed 30th and 31st in this event. And the strong finish from the Friends sculler has brought him back to only about a length and a third down. But it will be Harvey Guest that will claim third and James Wilson of Friends fourth.
So close for both first and third in that race, and the BBC Scullers get the best of both of those battles. The race won by Thomas Clark from the Brisbane Boys College, ahead of Aris Sikovitsis from Penley and Essendon. Third place, also the BBC Sculler, Harvey Guest on lane 6, and fourth goes to James Wilson of the Friends School. 8:18.41 unofficially, and just under a second, 0.92 between first and second. The D final underway too of the schoolgirls single scull. Owen's done the maths, but this should, I think, be for positions 25 onwards or thereabouts. Lane 1, Sydney Girls, Charlotte Barry. Lane 2, Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar School. Lane 3 from Furbank Grammar, Alex White. Lane 4, Redlands, Maddie Howard. Lane 5, Brisbane Girls Grammar School, Bronte Cathcart. Lane 6, Genazzano, Jemima Dwyer. And lane 8, or lane 7 in fact, bottom of screen there, Gippsland Grammar, Ailish McGrath.
And the Scullers having moved through the 1,000 metre mark. Bronte Cathcart was a race leader in 4:19.91 from Alex White of Furbank Grammar in the yellow colours out of lane number 3. Redlands, Matty Howard is in third, a further 4.11 seconds back, and then just 0.44 to Charlotte Barry of Sydney Girls on the far side of the course, or the top of the screen. And then Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar School, followed by Dwyer of Genazzano and Ailish McGrath of Gippsland Grammar in 7th position. So just a field of 7 here for this D final of the schoolgirl single scull. And the field still being led by Bronte Cathcart, just passing the 1,250 metre mark. She leads from Furbank's Alex White. So that's the sculler on screen, Bronte Cathcart. And the Carmody rowing boat. Carmody brothers, of course, formed a very good pair combination in the 70s and 80s. I think they were boat builders in Sydney at the time. I think might have even worked for Alan Phillips at the time. And yeah, they started to make timber boats and then moved on to composite boats in more recent times, of course. And that boat leading as they start to make their way up towards the 1,500 metre mark. Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar School, you can see at the left of the screen in lane number 2 is having a good third 500 metres. But through the 1,500 metre mark, it will be Bronte Cathcart of Brisbane Girls Grammar School that leads from Furbank Grammar's Alex White.
Bronte Cathcart, coached by John McGuinness, I'd imagine at the Commercial Rowing Club in Brisbane as well, but of course here representing her school, the Brisbane Girls Grammar School, who have the boat shed right alongside the commercial shed on the Milton Reach of the river, the famous stretch which hosted the head of the river in Brisbane through until I think about the 1970s or early 80s it may have been, before it moved to Wivenhoe Dam eventually.
Yeah, so a very strong performance coming from Bronte Cathcart on screen. And the sculler continues to hold the advantage over White of Furbank Grammar, who's starting to have a few scullers just creep up on her a little bit. Charlotte Barry on the far side for Sydney Girls. Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar. And then the other scullers, Maddie Howard of Redlands in the centre of the course, as well as Dwyer of Genazzano and Ailish McGrath of Gippsland Grammar are also not too far back on improving on their current positions in this last 300 odd metres of this race for those scullers at the back of the field. But ahead of the field, just 250 metres left to go for the race leader in Bronte Cathcart. So still in second position, we have Alex White of Furbank Grammar. And it looks as though Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar School has had one of the better second halves of this race. She's moved up into third spot. And good race going on between Howard and Barry. Redlands and Sydney Girls High for fourth spot. And then on this side of the course, Dwyer of Genazzano continues to shade Ailish McGrath by about 1 boat length as we get into the last 80 metres for the race leader. Bronte Cathcart of Brisbane Girls Grammar School. And she's well clear, about 3.5 boat lengths to the good. And that'll be enough to see her comfortably take out D final of the schoolgirls single scull. Second, set to go to Alex White of Furbank Grammar. She's still got around about 3/4 of a boat length in hand on the fast finishing Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar. They place second and third respectively. Fourth will go to Charlotte Barry of Sydney Girls High. Maddie Howard of Redlands, fifth. Genazzano's Jemima Dwyer placing sixth. And Ailish McGrath of Gippsland Grammar will be seventh.
So the unofficial results coming through for the D final of the schoolgirls single scull, with Brisbane Girls Grammar School in the end taking out first and third place in that race. First place was Bronte Cathcart on lane 5. Second, the Furbank Grammar Sculler from Melbourne, Alex White. Third, from Brisbane Girls Grammar School, Eloise Young. Fourth was Charlotte Barry. Fifth, Maddie Howard. Sixth, Jemima Dwyer. And seventh, Ailish McGrath in the D final of the schoolgirls single scull. 8:50.70 the winning time there, and a margin of 9.82 seconds. Approaching us now is the D final of the schoolboys single scull. This time a field of 5. At the top of the screen, the Anglican Church Grammar School Churchy sculler Liam Ardrey. In lane 4 from Footscray City College is Sam Wilson. Lane 3 from the lane 5, in fact, from the Friends School, but centre of the course is Harry Bevan. Lane 6, Ignatius. It's Ignatius Park College of Townsville, Zachary Judge, and lane 7, Christian Brothers Fremantle, Liam Davis.
It was Liam Davis who was leading through the halfway mark in 3:54 over Sam Wilson of Footscray City College, and then back to Zachary Judge of Ignatius in Townsville. Liam Ardrey of Anglican Church Grammar 4th, and Harry Bevan of Friends in 5th. And still it is Christian Brothers Fremantle, Liam Davis that continues to hold an advantage. It's no longer 2.12 seconds anymore. That's been halved as they start to make their way through the 1,500 metre mark. So a very good race between these two. And the gap then to sculler from Ignatius and Townsville. Zachary Judge has started to grow though, so these two have started to really push out, and they put about 3 or 4 seconds, maybe even 5 seconds into Zachary Judge of Ignatius. In third spot, Liam Ardrey continues to hold on to 4th spot ahead of Harry Bevan of Friends, just 1.20 seconds separating those two. So it'll be a good race there to see who will get 28th in this event and who will get 29th in this schoolboy single scull.
Sam Wilson there in second place, rowing for Footscray City College. He's been busy this week also rowing for the Footscray City Rowing Club, who I've got to recognise they're extremely active on social media. Footscray City, they've been busily sort of live tweeting and Instagramming the entire week, and the results especially of Sam Wilson and Louisa Bongrain, two of their scullers. Louisa Bongrain racing later on in the A final of the schoolgirls single scull for Maribyrnong College, but both members of the Footscray City Rowing Club in the western suburbs of Melbourne on the Maribyrnong River, of course.
And they might have more to put on Instagram after this one. He started to push to the lead.
I'm hoping we'll make it if we mention them during the race anyway.
And And this sculler, Sam Wilson, he starts to push with the legs, swing the back open, and it all sort of finishes off together. And he's just able to lift that rating a little bit more, which is seeing him move ahead of the race leader Liam Davis, or the former race leader Liam Davis for Christian Brothers Fremantle. And it's this turn of speed that doesn't look like it's able to be matched. He's up to 35 strokes a minute, and he's got out to about 3/4 of a boat length. Up to 33 is the Christian Brothers sculler from Fremantle, Liam Davis, but he won't be able to reel in Footscray City College's Sam Wilson. So he's timed that run very, very well to take out the D final. Placed 25th in the schoolboy scull. Christian Brothers, Fremantle, Liam Davis second. Third will go to Zachary Judge of Ignatius in Townsville. And Harry Bevan of Friends, Hobart, Tasmania will be fourth. And Anglican Church Grammar School from Brisbane, Liam Ardrey will place fifth for a ranking of 29th.
So 4 different states there in the 5 D finalists of the schoolboys single scull. But the Victorian wins it. Sam Wilson from Footscray City College. Then Christian Brothers Fremantle, Liam Davis in second place. Zachary Judge of Ignatius Park College in Townsville was third. The Friends School from Tasmania, Harry Bevan in fourth place. And Liam Ardrey from Churchie in Brisbane will finish in fifth place in that race. 7:52.58 the time there, and 1.9 seconds the win to the fast finishing Sam Wilson of Footscray City College. So on to the big boats now for the first time today. Race 471 is the D final of the schoolgirls Cox Quad Scull. Just the 2 crews in this race, and they're both from Victoria. It's the Strathcona School from Melbourne in lane 4, and Ballarat Clarendon alongside them in lane 5.
And about a 2-length advantage, or 7.5 seconds advantage to Strathcona in this one. They've nearly doubled that in the second 500 metres, the advantage they held after going through the first quarter of this race. So that's the crew from Strathcona, Melbourne in the race lead. And it can be tough in these 2 crew races when you're in, especially in a quad scull, a bit of noise out there, and when you're in the crew coming second, you start to hear that noise get a bit more faint. It can be a little bit disheartening. So we'll see if the Ballarat Clarendon crew can keep their head in the game and see if they can try and pull back this Strathcona crew that has been able to move out in the first 1,250 metres of this race. Still a gap sitting at a couple of boat lengths. Ballarat Clarendon represented by Katie Ling, Emily Selkirk, Sophie Joyce, Charlotte Sutherland and Stella Mitchie, and coached by Genevieve Chapman. They're there on the bottom of the screen, and at the top of the screen is Strathcona, Claire Bolter, Izzy Dodonka, Erin Teeler, Bronnie Coxhill and Lara Hines, the coxswain, and coached by Jackson Harrison and Izzy Dyker. And combining pretty well to get pretty similar catch angles and get out together. So that's the Strathcona crew on screen, continuing to lead as they make their way up towards the 1,500 metre mark, and Ballarat Clarendon have done well to make sure that they've complied with rule number 1. If you're going to try and catch a crew first, you've got to stop them getting away. So they've certainly stopped the charge of Strathcona and moving away in that after the first 1,000 metres, and have been able to limit it to a couple of boat lengths and hang around. And of course, if anything does go wrong in this last 500 metres, they'll be there to pounce.
Great conditions here too for these 2 quads as they make their way through the last 500 metres. Owen, you're the local around here. I hope it'll stay like this for the rest of today, we expect.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it's certainly not like it was last night. We were there, saw some tents get blown over, and yeah, doing a fair bit of work to put large concrete blocks on tents and things to help ensure that they stayed upright and safe as well for today. So it certainly blew a big head breeze yesterday and turned into a big crosshead breeze as well. So we certainly hope that isn't there, and we get great conditions like this for not only the school and club finals but also the interstate races, which commence at 1 o'clock this afternoon
And through with the Queen's Cup at 3 p.m, the King's Cup at 3:15. The last two races, that of course is Australian daylight saving time for those watching elsewhere.
And still this couple of boat lengths advantage for Strathcona. I've been working hard to try and move away from Ballarat Clarendon, but Ballarat Clarendon are doggedly hanging in there. Couple of lengths in arrears, and really good heart shown by those girls from Ballarat Clarendon to keep within distance of Strathcona, who have led from the get-go in this D final of the schoolgirl coxed quad scull. So this will decide rankings 24 and 25 in this event, and it will be Strathcona that will take out the D final ahead of Ballarat Clarendon, who will play second. So a really good race from the Ballarat Clarendon girls. Impressed they were able to still keep working hard and staying within distance of Strathcona.
It was indeed. Strathcona got out to an early lead and it pretty much stayed the same then for the second half of the course. So unofficially first in race 471, Strathcona at lane 4 from Ballarat Clarendon in lane 5. 8:06.99 the unofficial time, and 7.30 seconds between the two crews in race 471. Two boats also in the D final of the schoolboys coxed quad scull, and a pretty similar picture to the middle stage of the last race as well. The crew in lane 4 out by a couple of lengths on the crew in lane 5, but it is Sydney Secondary College this time around racing in lane 4. And once again, Ballarat Clarendon have lane 5.
So Sydney Secondary College have a very handy lead through that halfway mark. 8.45 seconds over Ballarat Clarendon. Sydney Secondary College, Oscar Tierney, Oliver Ryan, Namkai Styliano and Marco Serjak. These guys row out of a number of clubs, which is evidenced by their coaches, Liam James from Balmain, Brendan Logman and Sydney Rowing Club, and Brad Smith from Glebe Rowing Club. They're coxed by Jesse Newton, and Sydney Secondary College are enjoying a very, very handy advantage over Ballarat Clarendon. Rupert McDonald, George Tennant, James Caligari and Neil Rickard, Charlie Sutton, the coxswain. And that's Ballarat Clarendon on screen there. Having a bit of a look around to see where the Sydney Secondary Boys College guys are at as they start to make up their way towards the 1400 metre mark. So Sydney Secondary College, originally it was 3 schools that have now come under the one umbrella, with Balmain High and Leichhardt High School, which cater for years 7 to 10. They feed into the former Glebe High School, which is now known as Sydney Secondary College Blackwattle Bay campus, which is right near the Anzac Bridge in Sydney if you're in that part of town. And that's also the grounds in which the Glebe Rowing Club is located. And Sydney Secondary College continue to lead. They've pinched another couple of seconds, about another 3.5 seconds in fact, in that third 500 metres to extend their advantage over Ballarat Clarendon in this D final of the schoolboy coxed quadruple sculls.
And Ballarat Clarendon College, of course, one of as many schools that train on the waters of Lake Wendouree, the 1956 Melbourne Olympics course in Ballarat. Better known for their prowess in fours, generally the Ballarat schools. They've got, I think, half the field in the schoolgirls coxed four later on this morning through Ballarat Grammar, Ballarat High, Ballarat Clarendon, and also Loretto Ballarat. So plenty to look forward to for the Ballarat schools as these finals progress this morning.
Yeah, so Sydney Secondary College continuing to lead. Ballarat Clarendon just throwing up a bit of water as they just square up and prepare to take that next stroke. And these guys will be all the better for the experience when they come back for the 2020 National Championships.
Which are here once again, Al. We'll be back next year in 12 months' time on the Olympic course once again. Yeah,
there's a recent announcement. So and Rowing Australia looking at options beyond that for where this regatta will be located in the future. So Sydney Secondary College, Tierney, Ryan, Stylianu, Sir Jack and Jesse Newton in the stern of the boat as the coxswain are going to take out a convincing win in this D final of the Schoolboy Cox Quad Scull over Ballarat Clarendon, who will play second.
And driving right to the line there is Sydney Secondary College too, holding nothing back in the closing strokes of the D final. So that margin opens up just a little more once again. It must be about 5 boat lengths or so as we see Ballarat Clarendon now come across in second place. But it was Sydney Secondary College, our race winners over Ballarat Clarendon. The unofficial winning time there just adjusted now to 7:21.60 and the margin 16.63 seconds. And we go now to the C final of the schoolgirls singles scull. We saw the D final earlier on. Now the C final for the next set of positions in that race. A full field of 8 this time around. Lane 1, Adelaide High, Tonya Lockteff. Lane 2, Sydney Girls, Caitlin McManus Barrett. Lane 3, Rockhampton Grammar School, Laura Cipher. Lane 4, Hobart, Amy Bain. Lane 5, the Tara School, Sarah Fard. Lane 6, Newcastle Grammar, Corby Holmberg. Lane 7, Cardinia International College, Meg Cartwright. And Lane 8 from St Ignatius, South Australia, Cleo Wilson.
And the field being led by the sculler in lane number 5 for Tara School, Sarah Fard. And she had a good regatta, got a bronze medal in the quad earlier on this week and improved a lot in the single. Improved by over 24 seconds over the course of the week. So shows you what you can gain from racing these exhaustive finals. A really good chance to string a series of races together, and that's what Sarah Fard from Tara School has done. Tara School located in Parramatta in Sydney's west. And they're based their program out of Drummoyne Rowing Club, and she's coached there by Laura Brunessi, who heads up the Tara program along with Graham Gardner and Robin Mackney. And Miss Sculler's had a very good week. She leads Amy Bain of Hobart, who's alongside of her, coached by Mark Stott. A further 3.06 seconds back. Corby Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar School in lane number 6 is there in third spot, followed by Laura Cipher of Rockhampton Grammar. Cardinia International College, Meg Cartwright is in 5th. Caitlin McManus Barrett of Sydney Girls in 6th. And Wilson of St Ignatius, South Australia, is in another battle with Tonya Lockteff. I think this is the third time they've had a close race between those two South Australians. Just 0.86 separating them at the halfway mark. So,
despite being on opposite sides of the course in lanes 1 and 8, those South Australian scullers. So 2 South Australians in the race, 3 from New South Wales, 1 from Tasmania, 1 from Victoria, and a Queenslander too in the form of Laura Cipher of the Rockhampton Grammar School, whose elder sister Grace we'll see in the A final of this race in an hour or so's time. She's drawn in the centre lane there, so a semi-final winner, Grace Cipher. Laura Cipher, the younger of the Cipher sisters, but she was in action in race 1 way back on Monday morning. So I think she won lane 1, which was the first from lane 1. She won heat 1 of the under-17 women's single scull. So it's a big week for Laura Cipher, as it has been for many of these scullers who've done multiple laps of the course by now on day 7.
Yeah, we're up to race 473 now, so it certainly has a big week. On screen, Sarah Fard of Tara Anglican School for Girls. One of her coaches, Graham Gardner, 2-time world champion. It looks like it was Graham over there on the bike following that race down. Yeah, very good coach. If he has trouble explaining something, he actually gets out in the boat and tries to work out how to explain it another way, how to explain how it feels, how to make that change. So really good guy. And along with Robin Mackney, who does a tremendous job, and Laura Brunessi, who has been heading that Tara program for quite a number of years. They have some very good scullers have come out of there. And Sarah Fard continues to extend her advantage as they come towards the 1,500 metre mark. Very good race going on for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. We've got Amy Bain, Laura Cipher and Corby Holmberg all there in lanes 3, 4 and 6. And Caitlin McManus Barrett of Sydney Girls in lane number 2 would be next. So you see final to decide places 17 through to 24. And Sarah Fard continues to enjoy a couple of boat lengths advantage moving into the last 400 metres of this race, and we'll start to see who the big movers are In the places behind her, Laura Cypher of Rockhampton Grammar, coached by Robin Fay, has just started to move up on Amy Bain of Hobart. And likewise, Corby Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar School, not known as the biggest raider, but she does get a long straight, good lean back on her and trying to propel her boat along. So through the 1750 metre mark, and still Sarah Fard 2 boat lengths to the good. And it is Laura Cypher that has been the big mover from Rockhampton Grammar School. And one of their tents was absolutely hammered in the wind yesterday and destroyed. Very unfortunate for them, but yeah, they've had a pretty good week on the water. And Laura Cypher sculling along very, very nicely in the dark red. 3 from the top of the screen, or 3 from the far side of the course. She's moved out to 3/4 of a length on Bain of Hobart, and Corby Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar School is there in 4th. So that'll be the top 4. Sarah Fard untouched. She heads up to the line and puts in another good performance to finish off her regatta for Tara Anglican School for Girls in this C final of the schoolgirls single scull. And I think she may well just take another few seconds off her personal best time on
Amy
this
Bain
very course.
fighting back here for second place too.
Yeah, very good finish here coming from the sculler in the yellow boat, but it's going to come a bit too late. Laura Cypher gets there with a good second half of the race. Bain of Hobart 3rd, Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar 4th, and then 5th goes to Cleo Wilson of St Ignatius, South Australia, just ahead of Tonya Lockteff in 6th. 7th to McManus Barrett of Sydney Girls, and Cartwright of Cardinia National College placing 8th.
So Sarah Fard first there in the C final of the schoolgirls single scull for the Tara School. Second place, Rockhampton Grammar's Laura Cypher. 3rd, Amy Bain from Hobart. 4th was Corby Holmberg. 5th, Cleo Wilson. 6th, Tonya Lockteff. 7th, Caitlin McManus Barrett. 8th, Meg Cartwright. The winning time there unofficially 8:24.59, 8:24.79. In fact, the adjusted time and the winning margin 5.72 seconds. On to the C final of the schoolboys single scull, which is well past the halfway mark already. Lane 1, Townsville Grammar, Lachlan at Donald Wales. Lane 2, Blackburn High School, Tim Lang. Lane 3 from Kings, Lachlan Roach. Lane 4 from Canterbury College on the Gold Coast, Jared Lord. Lane 5, the Southport School, Joshua Herbert. Lane 6 from St Virgil's, Jared Connolly. Lane 7, Cathedral Townsville, Bradley Graham. And Lane 8 from Wesley, Harvey Rupp.
The sculler on screen, Joshua Hobart. He started off all his races pretty well. The sculler in the Southport School in lane number 5 in the Wintec boat. That continues to lead. And some good performances coming around him with Jared Lord on his stroke side, or just above him on the screen. And Lachlan Roach of the King's School is also right there in the mix. And then we have the scullers on this side of him with Cathedral Townsville, Bradley Graham and Harvey Rupp of Wesley Perth that are also there vying for a higher position in this C final. And of course, rankings from 17 to 24 as they start to make their way up towards the 1500 metre mark. And Joshua Hobart just 2.40 seconds ahead of Jared Lord. Lachlan Roach in 3rd spot. And then we go back to Bradley Graham of Cathedral Townsville, Harvey Rupp of Wesley Perth, and then Tim Lang of Blackburn High School. Jared Connolly of St Virgil's is next, and then it is the sculler over in lane number 1 from Townsville Grammar, Lachlan Donald Wales, who is there in the 8th position in this one and set to place 24th in this event. So the sculler 3 out from the far side, Lachlan Roach. His father Richard Roach heads up the program at Newington College, and mother Katrina Roach has won the Victoria Cup previously, a world champion in the lightweight women's quad. That's the King's sculler there on screen there, Lachlan Roach, who's finishing this one off strongly, but it is still Joshua Hobart of the Southport School that leads Jared Lord of Canterbury College, coached by Emmanuel Hatzianu. We know Jared Lord has got a very, very strong finish, so we'll see if there's any fireworks here in this last 150 metres, or whether he's used up all his energy in trying to stay with the early race leader, Joshua Hobart. So it's those two. They're fighting it out. And we're still seeing Jared Lord of Canterbury is maintaining his length as he starts to draw up alongside sculler from the Southport School, Joshua Hobart. And does he have a response, or is Jared Lord just going to move on by? Only getting down to the last 60 metres. And we'll see if Joshua Hobart has another gear. As Jared Lord has just managed to keep his length, keep the power on, and that yellow shell is just going to move across the line. 1 length to the good of Joshua Hobart of the Southport School. Third goes to Bradley Graham of Cathedral Townsville. Lachlan Roach of the King's School, Parramatta, will be fourth, and then followed by Harvey Rupp of Wesley College, Perth. Tim Lang of Blackburn High School in Melbourne will be sixth, and then he's followed home by sculler from St Virgil's, Jared Connolly, and Townsville Grammar's Lachlan Donald Wales will be eighth.
So 2 scullers, both from the Gold Coast there, in a close finish in the C final of the schoolboys single scull. It's won by Jared Lord of Canterbury College ahead of Joshua Hobart from the Southport School. Third place to Bradley Graham of Cathedral Townsville. Fourth then is Lachlan Roach from the King's School. Fifth, Harvey Rupp of Wesley Perth. Sixth, Tim Lang from Blackburn High. Seventh, Jared Connolly from St Virgil's in Tasmania. And eighth place, Lachlan and Donald Wales of Townsville Grammar. 7:37.22 the time there, and 2.04 seconds from first to second. The C final of the school girls coxed 4 is the next race with a field of 4 in this event. St Catherine's, Sydney are top of the screen in lane 3. Pymble Ladies in lane 4. Kinross Walleroy in 5, and Shelford Girls Grammar School in lane 6.
It is Kinross Walleroy School that lead through the halfway mark, 3:49.6 ahead of St Catherine's in lane number 3, or top of the screen. And they're then followed by Pymble Ladies College, who are just 0.64 ahead of Shelford Girls Grammar out of Melbourne. So a good race going on here in this C final as we get into the second half of it. Kinross Walleroy School on screen: Bridget Longley, Charlie Harding, Sophia Deal, Flynn Madigan, and Xanthi Sinclair in the bow of the boat. They're coached by Tobias Weir-Candler, who's part of the New Zealand Men's 4 in 2013. Of course, two-time Olympian Sarah Cook also coaching that crew. And still with their bow in front of St Catherine's School, Katerina Saravanos, Ia Hickey-Berry, Bianca Horrell, Zoe Hall, and Rebecca Rosenberg, the coxswain of that crew that you can just see at the top of the screen. Lara Campbell and Jared Watson, the coaches of the St Catherine's crew, which are based out of the UTS Rowing Club in Dobroyd Parade and Lilyfield at the end of Iron Cove. And then we have a very good race going on between Pymble Ladies College, who are just still narrowly ahead of Shelford Girls Grammar School, crew coached by Julian Whitehead. So moving into the race lead in this third 500 metres, or championship 500 metres, is crew from St Catherine's School from Waverley in Sydney's east. Very good push here to move ahead of Kinross Walleroy School, who are generally renowned for a very strong finish to their races. So we'll see if they are able to respond, or whether they've burnt their bickies in this first 1,500 metres of this one.
Oh, and Kinross Walleroy, obviously based in Orange in the central west of New South Wales. Do they row most of their regattas here in Sydney, or is there a lot of competition in that part of the state as well?
No, they travel, yeah. So here's about a 3-hour drive. So they come to regattas here and also in the ACT as well. So that's generally where you'll see Kinross competing. A very, very strong co-ed school in rowing, also in rugby as well. So they have some very, very, very talented country kids who certainly give everything a crack.
And a well-travelled program, obviously, as well.
Yeah, so the boat there named after Bob Holmes, who's been an absolute legend at Kinross Walleroy School in helping run their program for quite a number of years. He was battling with cancer a few years ago, and Bob Holmes, an absolute delight of a man who did everything he could to give these kids great opportunities to compete in sport, and I'm sure taught them a heck of a lot of life skills. So coming into the last 250 metres, it is St Catherine's School, New South Wales, that lead this one from Kinross Wallaroy School. Pymble Ladies have started to push a little bit further ahead of Shelford Girls Grammar School and certainly consolidate their third spot, but they're trying to gun down this Kinross Wallaroy School crew in this last couple of 100 metres. And we'll see if they're going to run out of water or whether they've got the ability to just lift it there. They're the boat with the two rowers in sequential seats on the same side of the course, with a tandem rig there. And they've been able to get the gap to Kinross Wallaroy School down to about 2/3 of a boat length, but St Catherine's at the head of the field are going to hold on to this one and take out the C final of the schoolgirl Cox 4. Around about 3/4 of a length ahead of Kinross Wallaroy School, who plays second, and the Pymble Ladies will be third, and then followed by Shelford Girls Grammar in fourth place.
So New South Wales schools sweep the places in the C final of the schoolgirls Cox 4 ahead of the Victorian crew. Hopefully not an omen for the interstate regatta. Still to come later on today, but St Catherine's Sydney get the win there on lane 1. Kinross Wallaroy in second. The Pymble Ladies in third, and Shelford Girls Grammar School finish in fourth place. 7:47.66 the time in the race, and 2.22 seconds the margin from first to second. On to the C final of the school boys coxed 4. And there has been a scratching from the lane 3 combination, we understand. So just a field of 2. And it's Rockhampton Grammar School in lane 4, the Melbourne Grammar School in lane 5. Two schools many thousands of kilometres apart from opposite ends of the eastern seaboard of Australia, racing out here for what would be position 17 and 18, Owen, in the schoolboys coxed 4.
Yes, and Rockhampton Grammar with a very good advantage, over 4.5 seconds at the halfway mark as they start to make their way towards the 1,250 metre mark. Rockhampton Grammar program headed up by John Smythe, who was there previously before coming down to be Tim McLaren's assistant at UTS Rowing Club, and is headed back up there. Absolutely lovely guy, does a tremendous job with these youngsters. And Jack Barwick also coaching the Rockhampton Grammar School crew. Riley Godwin, Reese Byrne, Bradley Burr, Nicholas Story, and Jack Kerner is the coxswain there in the bow. And as we move to Melbourne Grammar School on screen, you can see their coxswain Freddie Campbell there to the right of the screen. And they are Edward Sutton, Henry Gleeson, Lachlan McCurdy, and James Newton-Brown as the crew from Melbourne Grammar School. And seeing if they're able to start to make a bit of an impression. And the great footage from the drone suggests that Rockhampton Grammar have been able to extend their advantage in this third 500 metres. It was 4.61 seconds at the halfway mark. And Rockhampton Grammar looking the goods here as they come into the last 500 metres of this C final of the schoolboy Cox 4. And as they come through that 1,500 metre mark, they have in fact nearly doubled that advantage over Melbourne Grammar School. So Rockhampton Grammar continuing to go on with it and taking a lot of confidence as the more they push on those foot stretches, the further they're able to see the Melbourne Grammar School crew in the distance.
Well, it's long been an incredibly strong program at the Rockhampton Grammar School in central Queensland, of course, training on the waters of the Fitzroy River, the allegedly crocodile-infested Fitzroy River. Also one of the best commentary spots in Australian rowing, at least from the balcony outside the bar on the top level of the rowing club there. So it's close to refreshments, and you are looking straight down the course. So it's a unique commentary perspective up there in Rockhampton, but a very strong program. Developed a number of Australian athletes over the years. Of course, Dave Galley was one of those, and more recently, Sasha Bolonigov, who went on to row for Australia in the Olympics. And the Bolonigov family, of which there were many, went through the Rockhampton Grammar School program as well.
Wayne Diplock also from Rockhampton, I think, isn't he?
I think he may have been, yes. Yes.
And Rockhampton Grammar continuing to control this C final, as they have done from the early stages from Melbourne Grammar School. And with less than 100 metres to go, this match race is looking pretty much decided, with Rockhampton Grammar set to take out the C final for a 17th placing in this event, and it will be Melbourne Grammar School that will place second.
So Rockhampton Grammar School there across the line, about 3 lengths clear of Melbourne Grammar. It will be in second place. So position 17 and 18 decided in the schoolboys Cox 4. The time currently up there as 7:04.58. And the margin, in fact, now adjusted to 7:04.79, the unofficial time, and the margin 9.17 seconds between Rockhampton Grammar School and Melbourne Grammar in the C final of the schoolboys Cox 4. Our next race will be the C final of the schoolgirls coxed quad scull. And there should be a field of 7 on their way down the course, so not too far out of the start in this race. It is lane 1, Shelford Girls Grammar School from Melbourne. Lane 2, Walford Anglican from Adelaide. Lane 3, PLC Sydney. Lane 4, Kinross Wallaroi. Lane 5, the Cardinia International College. Lane 6, Strathcona from Melbourne. And lane 7, the Newcastle Grammar School.
Have them on screen with Cardinia International College getting off to a pretty handy start. And likewise, Kinross Wallaroi. So they're the two on the left of the screen as we follow across PLC Sydney and their new Zudi designs there in lane number 3. Also getting off to a pretty handy start in this first 500 metres. So it was Kinross Wallaroi leading Cardinia International College and PLC Sydney in 3rd place, and then followed by Walford Anglican out of lane number 2 from Adelaide and South Australia. Strathcona out of Melbourne is in 5th position. Shelford Girls Grammar out of Melbourne in 6th, and Newcastle Grammar in 7th place. So only a very, very slender advantage being held by Kinross Wallaroi as Cardinia International College start to make a little bit of a push and try and eke their bow ahead as they make their way up towards the 750 metre mark, and PLC Sydney hanging there with an overlap on them. And a good race going on in this second wave of crews with Walford that are leading Strathcona, and then the crews on the edges of the field, or flanks as some people refer to them, is Shelford Grammar and Newcastle Grammar trying to still maintain an overlap as these crews start their push towards the halfway mark.
And just a slight clarification now on the ever-present captain of our commentary team, Ray Ebbett, listening to every word. Wayne Diplock is indeed from Rockhampton, but was actually a student at North Rockhampton High, not Rockhampton Grammar School. So I think he was still correct. He's definitely from Rockhampton, but North Rocky High for Wayne Diplock.
Yeah, Wayne Diplock, of course, Australian Olympian and working with Rowing Australia on their high-performance teams. And a very good performance coming from Cardinia International College in this second 500 metres. They've now picked up a few seats on Kinross Wallaroi School, and PLC Sydney creeping up as well. Eleanor Polly, Claire Racky, Kate Brady, Alexandra Vaughan, Phoebe Glenn, the coxswain. They're coached by Sarah Ellis, who was formerly leading the program at Newcastle Grammar School and has moved to Sydney in the last year or so. And she's been really happy with how these girls have progressed throughout the season and continuing to make some good technical changes, and great to see them get a few races here to string together to see how they can improve over the course of the week. So Cardinia International College now just trying to break an overlap with Kinross Wallaroi and PLC Sydney as we start to move up towards the 1250 metre mark. And PLC Sydney just putting their bow ahead of Kinross Wallaroi School. So PLC are having a very, very good third 500 metres. Strathcona currently in 4th, very closely followed by Walford, and also very close between the crews on each side of the course. Shelford just ahead of Newcastle Grammar. It was only just 0.02 as they came through the halfway mark, but the crews now just into around about 65% of the race done. And has this push from Cardinia International College been very decisive in this third 500 metres? able to get out to a boat length, or is PLC continuing to have this good mid-race rhythm that will see them just continue to put their bow further and further to the right of the screen and more into the peripheral vision of the crew from Cardinia International College from Geelong.
They just can't quite break that overlap, can they? It's still just under a length between Cardinia and PLC Sydney. They're in second place, so they haven't quite shaken them free. Plenty of support here for the Cardinia International College too. A pretty big program, that school in Geelong, and they've got a number of supporters here and banners in the grandstand. So a lot of people cheering on Cardinia, I'm sure, as they approach the finish, as they will be for the other schools as well. But it is, you can see they're still just under 3 seconds, but maybe stretching out to slightly be clear water now. Cardinia International College over PLC Sydney and Kinross Wallaroi.
Yeah, so Kinross Wallaroi in third, and they really blasted out at the start, but we wonder if they do have that power still left in the legs to really bring this one home. They're in third spot, and they're well clear of fourth, but we'll see whether they're actually able to have anything left to try and improve on that third spot. On screen, PLC Sydney, their new Zudi designs that arrived in around about January, and they're over in lane number 3. You can see in the centre of the screen, PLC Sydney trying to row down Cardinia International College, who have had a very good race plan. They're coached by Wayne Nitschke, the crew of Claire Gorman, Matilda Broad, Bella Miles, Lillian Henderson and Tamsin Duthie, the coxswain of that boat. And it looks as though they may well have wrapped this one up, coming into the last couple of 100 metres. They're still keeping PLC Sydney at just over a boat length. Similar gap from PLC Sydney, perhaps a little less to Kinross Wallaroi, who are in third spot. In the race for Strathcona, have had a good second 1,000, and also dragged Newcastle Grammar with them, and Walford Anglican over in lane number 2 are having a little bit of pressure to try and finish ahead of 6th in this one, and Shelford Girls on the far side appear destined to place 7th. But only about 3 strokes to go for Cardinia International College as they will take out final C of the Schoolgirl Cox Quad Scull, ahead of PLC Sydney in second spot. Kinross Wallaroi plays third, and then fourth will go to Strathcona, and it is PLC Newcastle Grammar just with their bow ahead of Walford Anglican for positions 5th and 6th, and Shelford Girls will be 7th.
So Cardinia International College by over a length in the C final of the Schoolgirls Coxed Quad Scull. They will finish in 17th place overall. Second there goes to PLC Sydney. Third, Kinross Wallaroi. 4th, Strathcona. 5th, Newcastle Grammar. 6th, Walford Anglican. And 7th, the Shelford Girls Grammar School. 7:37.61. This stage is the time for that race. And it is 4.42 seconds between first and second. And nearing its conclusion now is the C final of the schoolboys Coxed Quad Scull. Just over 500 metres to race there. Cardinia International College in lane 1. Scotch College Adelaide in 2. Radford College from the ACT in 3. Newcastle Grammar in 4. Ignatius from Townsville in 5. Cathedral from Townsville are in lane 6. And lane 7 is a scratching.
And it is Newcastle Grammar School. They took out the A final last year, and a different crew here this year. Jaden Ratley, Kyle Riley, Max Boyd, Nicholas McGrath and Acacia Ozturk, the coxswain, coached by Bronson Elsley. And they're leading by about a boat length over Cathedral Townsville. They're in a second spot. And then we go back to Radford College in third, followed by Ignatius Townsville in 4th, and then they're followed by Scotch College Adelaide in 5th and Cardinia International College in 6th position. So Newcastle Grammar on screen. Gavin Ellis, who coached them last year to the national titles, their first ever rower at the school, and they started their program in about the late 90s. It would be around that time, and have had much success. Their program is based out of Lake Macquarie Rowing Club, which is on Lake Macquarie at Booragul, and they're continuing to hold off Cathedral Townsville in second spot. Ignatius from Townsville are having a very good finish in this one as they try and reel in Radford College, who have held on to third spot for the bulk of the race, but a very good race going on between those two as they start their sprints. The Ignatius crew, not the highest rating, but they're getting a fair bit of run out of their boat. The head of the field, Newcastle Grammar School, will take out the C final ahead of Cathedral Townsville, who placed second, and a very good finish from Ignatius, also of Townsville, to claim third spot. They've finished over the top of Radford College, who will be fourth. And then fifth will go to Scotch College, Adelaide, and they're followed by Cardinia International College in sixth.
Great finish, those top four crews really flying towards the line, but Newcastle Grammar doing enough to hold on and win by just short of a length in the end. Newcastle Grammar in first place, Cathedral Townsville second, Ignatius Park College from Townsville in third, Radford College of the ACT narrowly back in fourth place, Scotch Adelaide are fifth, Cardinia International College in sixth place. The winning time there for Newcastle Grammar, 6:46.53, and the margin 2.52 seconds. First of our 8 races is on the course. It is the C final of the Schoolgirls Coxed, and well, I can guarantee you that St Hilda's Western Australia are going to win this race with 2 crews in the C final. A brave call there indeed, but it's St Hilda's lane 4. Megan Bateman, Geordie Grobler, Caitlin Bruce, Hayley Cook, Marla Warren Hicks, Ruby Warren Hicks, Flora Smith, Julia Howie, and India Anyer, coached by Sam O'Connell and Josh Wilkes. And the crew on lane 5 also from St Hilda's West Australia, who are our race leader, Eloise Young, Nellie Grayling, Tamsin Bruce, Flora Smith, Genevieve Hart, Ruby Warren Hicks, Nada Pereira, Claire Rogers, coxed by Kiana Hall, coached by Charles Somerset and M. Wild. So the battle of the 2 St Hilda's crews is approaching the halfway mark.
Yeah, the crew in lane number 5 had a 7.73 second advantage at the first 500 metres, and that has started to grow. There's another strong second 500 as they've gone through in 3:34.65. Conditions still quite good, much different to what the Schoolgirl 8s had yesterday for their semi-finals. They were battling into it, and yeah, I think they're about going about 7:40 or 8 minutes.
I think there was
or
one over 8 minutes in the girls' 8s. I know that both the boys' 8s were just over 7 minutes. I think 7:00 and 7:03 in the school boys' 8, which is pedestrian, to put it politely, but it was into a roaring headwind. I reckon we might get a quicker time in this C final than we saw in some of those semi-finals yesterday.
Yeah, that's right. So a very colourful strip of St Hilda's Western Australia on screen with their boat that leads out of lane number 5. That's the Eloise Young, Nellie Grayling, Tamsin Bruce, Flora Smith, Genevieve Hart, Ruby Warren Hicks, Nadia Pereira, Claire Rogers and Kiana Hall, coached by Charles Somerset and Emmy Wild. And they've just come in up towards 1,300 metres covered and continuing to extend their advantage over their schoolmates in lane number 4.
This is the St Hilda's Anglican School for Girls in Mosman Park of Perth. Not to be confused, of course, with St Hilda's from the Gold Coast of Queensland, a school that won their first ever Head of the River back 2 years ago now in 2017. But St Hilda's Western Australia, the 2 crews in this race, and certainly a couple of links between them. Lane 5 comfortably still holding off lane 4.
Yes, and starting to make their way towards the 1,500 metre mark, and still pretty handy with the blade work. A couple of different rhythms in the boat with the head sort of separating a little bit, but still they are well clear of their schoolmates in lane number 4 as they get into the last quarter of this race in slight following conditions. Yeah, the match races can be a real mental battle and can be particularly tough when you're racing people for your own school, particularly if you race them in training, and the results can be somewhat similar each time. So very tough match race for this St Hilda's crew in lane number 4 that are in second spot to the crew on screen out of lane number 5. So just 250 metres left to go for this leading St Hilda's boat, who are continuing to push all the way to the finish line. And they'll be keen to round out their regatta on a high note, taking out the C final and placing 17th in the Schoolgirl 8 event.
And the only West Australian crews entered in the Schoolgirls 8, it seems, just looking ahead to the B and A finals. So a lot of crews, especially from the Melbourne schools in the A final. 6 Victorian crews in the final, along with the Pymble Ladies, the hopes of New South Wales, and Walford Anglican from South Australia, who won the event a couple of years ago. But as far as the West Australians go, it's these 2 St Hilda's crews currently fighting out the finish of the C final.
And heading up to the bridge, which generally indicates about 12 strokes to go. There are a few strokes past that now, and St Hilda's West Australia out of lane number 5 will take out the C final of the Schoolgirl 8, 17th place in the event, ahead of their schoolmates out of lane number 4, who will claim 2nd spot for a ranking of 18th.
If you took the $1 odds on offer on St Hilda's in this race, you can collect now. They're across first on lane 5, with St Hilda's West Australia lane 4 to finish in a few strokes time, so several lengths between those 2 crews from the St Hilda's school in Perth, Western Australia. So first lane 5, the crew stroked by Claire Rogers, and second lane 4, the crew stroked by Julia Howie. They're across the line now, 28.88 seconds, the unofficial margin, and the time there, 7:15:30. In fact, 7:15:58 now, the unofficial time in the C final. And that's the schoolboys coxed 8 C final. A slightly bigger field of 3 crews in this race, made up of Scotch College Adelaide in lane 3, Geelong Grammar School from Victoria in lane 4, and Trinity Grammar, also of Victoria, are racing in lane 5. And this one much closer than the previous race, with the 3 crews all within half a length or so, as they head on down to, with about 700 metres to go.
After this one, you'll get 40 minutes rest at least. Yes, a very good race, and it is the colours of Geelong Grammar and the yellow boat that have the lead, and they're sitting around about half a dozen seats ahead of Trinity Grammar from Victoria, and they're having an engrossing battle with Scotch College from Adelaide, who are currently in 3rd spot. At the halfway mark, there's only just over half a second separating first from third, but Geelong Grammar have had a good push in this third 500 metres, and they've moved out to about half a boat length's advantage over Trinity Grammar from Victoria. And Scotch have been pushed back into 3rd spot. So do they have anything left to try and get back on terms with these other 2 boats, the Scotch College Adelaide crew, as they make their way into the final part of this race? So 1.32 seconds the margin back to Trinity Victoria, and then a further 2.24 seconds to Scotch College Adelaide. So Geelong Grammar School program headed up by Toby Lister, Australian Olympic coxswain and multi-time Kings Cup winner for New South Wales. And Geelong Grammar starting to look the goods. Sitting just over, now moving out to about 2/3 of a length advantage over Trinity Grammar Victoria. And the metres are continuing to tick on by. Only about 200 metres left to go. And it's Geelong Grammar with a healthy advantage. And I think Scotch College Adelaide may have a bit too much work to do if they're trying to improve on their current position. They look destined for a 19th placed ranking in this event.
It's presumably a second 8, I think, from Geelong Grammar. Their first 8 racing in the A final over in lane 1. So a great depth certainly from that program.
Yes, and the boys are continuing to go on with it here and trying to make sure they win this by about a boat length, perhaps even a little more. They're continuing to drive for the line. And Geelong Grammar School got the rating right up. And they're there, 37 strokes a minute as they cross the line, take out final C. 1 boat length, the margin on the finish to Trinity Grammar Victoria, and Scotch College Adelaide placed 3rd.
So unofficially there in the C final of the Schoolboys Coxed 8 race, 480. It was Geelong Grammar across the line in 1st place. Trinity Grammar from Melbourne in 2nd. and Scotch College Adelaide will finish third. The time there for Geelong Grammar, 6:27.09, and the margin 3.55 seconds from first to second. We move on to the first of our B finals. We're having a commentary change up here at the same time. But the B final of the schoolgirls single scull is underway. Lane 1, Redlands, Zoe Kimber. Lane 2, St Peter's Girls, Sarah Caritas. Lane 3, Rockhampton Grammar School, Keely Dunn. Lane 4, St Clair's College, Cara Brigode. Lane 5, Genazzano from Melbourne, Odette Lynch. Lane 6, Radford College, Jacinta Buckman. Lane 7, Hornsby Girls, Laura Wunderlich. Lane 8, Brisbane Girls Grammar School, Elizabeth McPherson. And Owen and I will be back in an hour or so, but for now we'll leave you in the very capable hands of Captain Ray Ebbets and for the first time today, Lizzie Chapman.
Thank you very much, Richard, and thank you to Owen and yourself for the great job you've been doing all week and again this morning. So the schoolgirls single scull B final is underway, as Richard said. And Laura Winderlich of Hornsby Girls must row, one would think, at UTS because she's coached jointly by Hallie Chapman, David Geely and Alex Field. Genazzano in second place, Odette Lynch, coached by Gabrielle Clark and Jane Robinson. And then follows Brisbane Girls Grammar School, Elizabeth McPherson, must row out of Brisbane and GPS Rowing Club because she's coached by Peter Rowdy Howard and she's holding down third place. Then follows Cara Brigode, Jacinta Buckman, Keely Dunn, Sarah Caritas and Zoe Kimber. So it's quite crisp outside, Lizzie. You're here in a jumper and I think you're going to get a bit warm sitting here in the box this morning.
I think I'm going to swelter. Well, when I was here last night, the wind, my goodness me, with all the tents blowing over. So I think I came this morning expecting it to be very cold. And
at 5:30 this morning, the wind was still blowing, but fantastic conditions.
Yes.
That we've become to expect. Unfortunately, yesterday afternoon we lost the sprint races, but fantastic conditions for day 7, the last day of the 2019 Aon Sydney International Rowing Regatta, as they head towards the halfway mark in the B final of the schoolgirls single scull. And it's the Genazzano sculler Odette Lynch who's taken the lead away from Laura Winderlich. Then follows Cara Brigode and Jacinta Buckman. Keely Dunn has moved up into 5th there. Then Sarah Caritas, Elizabeth McPherson starting to pay the price for a very fast first 500 metres. But Genazzano's Odette Lynch, coached by Gabrielle Clark and Jane Robinson, has taken the lead at the halfway mark.
Yes, with Laura Wunderlich. So I think pretty sure Laura was a complete novice, and she's not come through a schoolgirls program. She's actually joined UTS.
No, Hornsby Girls, yes. I'm not familiar with them, but I said early in the race that obviously rose at UTS with the 3 coaches.
That's
named
right.
Hallie Chapman, Nay Hames, world champion in the
Junior
under 19 single scull.
That's right, yep. And
when coached by an old mate of mine, Greg Howe, back, well, it was this century, wasn't it?
I think so. Yes, so a fine sculler herself. She had a great coach and she's passing on all that experience in coaching Laura, who's done incredibly well in her first season. Against some very good scullers here, though. Cara Brigode, I think is how you pronounce it. I've been saying Brigode, so apologies to Cara. I think it's Brigode, coached, of course, by Renee Domischen.
Yep, who's doing a fantastic job at the ACT High Performance Program along with Nick Garrett.
Yeah, so Cara was in the winning double scull in the under-17s, I think it was, at New South Wales State Championship, so she's quite young.
And the Genazzano sculler Odette Lynch. I'm not familiar with Gabrielle Clark, but Jane Robinson, highly credentialed former Australian team member.
And as we've been saying throughout the regatta, so fantastic to see these former rowers and with all of their experience coming back in and putting back into the sport, as is very traditional in this sport.
Absolutely. Brynley Millwood coaching the St Peter's Girls sculler, Sarah Caritas, Rosie Moss, Ina Marshall-Davies and James Petering coaching Zoe Kimber. Rob Fay coaching at Rockhampton Grammar School. Renee, as we said, Erin Newer and Sam Durnell coaching the Radford College sculler. Rowdy Howard coaching the Brisbane Girls Grammar School sculler. But at the moment it is the Genazzano sculler Odette Lynch who holds the lead in the schoolgirls single scull And Genazzano, prolific competitors at the National Rowing Championships over many, many years. And of course, every time it's been in Sydney in this last rotation from 2013 on, pretty sure Genazzano's been at every regatta.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd never heard that name before, and I distinctly remember them all being here at the 2013 World Cup, our first ever Sydney International Rowing Regatta. I've been, I bumped into Rob Scott this morning, and I was thinking, I know I've spoken to Ian Robson about it as well. Rob Scott, President of Rowing Australia, Ian Robson, the Chief Executive Officer. How fantastic this event is, bringing everybody from across the country. It's just really wonderful to catch up with everybody and make new friends as well. And
unique to rowing that it's at every level, under 17s through to Olympians, and even the club rowing, as I said with Ian in an interview this morning, you know, 61-year-old Peter Anthony and 65-year-old Jeff Reese out there racing against some kids, absolute kids in comparison.
And the same in all the club events, I'm sure, but the club women's fours, they look particularly good. Very strong event.
Genazzano and Odette Lynch will hang on to first place, even with about 100 metres still to go. Great race for second, though. St Clair's Cara Brigeau and Rockhampton Grammar's Keely Dunn fighting out second and third. Keely Dunn coming home strongly. Cara Brigeau responding to that challenge. And I think Cara Brigeau will hang on to second over Keely Dunn. Yes, she will, with a couple of strokes still to go. It'll be 5-4-3 will be the order. Lane 7 will be fourth. Laura Winderlich, the early leader. Fifth will be interesting between lane 6 and lane 2. It'll be lane 6 that will be fifth. Lane 2 will be sixth. Lane 8, Brisbane Girls Grammar School, Elizabeth McPherson will be 7th, and Redlands Zoe Kimber will be 8th.
So that completes our B final of the schoolgirls single scull, with a win for Odette Lynch from Genazzano. In second, Cara Brigeau from St Clair's College, and in third, Keely Dunn from Rockhampton Grammar. Fourth, Laura Wunderlich from Hornsby Girls. Fifth, the Jacinta Buckman from Radford. St Peter's Girls 6th, Brisbane Girls 7th, Redlands 8th. Time 8 minutes 26.21 seconds.
There you go.
And on the course now, the B final of the schoolboys single scull. Cooper Williams has scratched. Daniel Webb from Nudgee is in lane 2. Oliver Miller from Sandringham College in lane 3. Ben Vickery from Hunter Valley Grammar School in lane 4. Namkai Stilianu from Sydney Secondary College in lane 5. Digby Marshall from Christian Brothers Fremantle in lane 6. Hugh Waitman from Brisbane Grammar in 7. And Samuel Atherton from Brisbane Grammar in 8. That's pretty good to get two scullers in the B final.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure whether Hugh's dad may be coaching these two scullers. Of course, David Waitman, who won a silver medal in the pair with the chairman of Rowing Australia, Rob Scott. David heavily involved in the program at Brisbane Grammar School these days. So again, some terrific coaches involved here. Nudgee Daniel Webb, coached by Michael Russell and Paul Webb. So he is rowing at University of Queensland Boat Club, because that's where Michael coaches. Oliver Miller, coached by Ben Board. Oliver, the son of Giles Miller.
Indeed, and he rows at Melbourne University Boat Club.
Yep, and Ben Vickery, coached by Rowan Hislop and Tom Herborn. So that is the Hunter Valley Grammar.
Indeed.
Namkai Stelianu, Brendan Longman, Sydney Rowing Club.
Yep.
Christian Brothers Fremantle, Tom Gaddy, coaches Digby Marshall. Tom, a coach at Fremantle Rowing Club. Hugh Waitman and Samuel Atherton. As I said, I think probably coached by David Waitman, who was heavily involved, and I think may have coached the first 8 at Brisbane Grammar School this season in the Brisbane Head of the River. So he's close to the lead, Hugh Waitman, but I would suggest that it is Namkai Stelianu who's... I know it would be Ben Vickery, I think, who's in the lead there.
Going through the 1,500 metre mark, we've just had some times from the timing hut, thank you. Hugh Waitman just in front of Ben Vickery by less than a second, though, and then Daniel Webb 1 second behind that, and Namkai 1.5 seconds again. So what a good first 5 there, pushing up for the medals.
Absolutely. Well, for
Ollie Miller is the 5th one. Yeah.
So this is for positions 7th to 11th. B final. No, we have 8, of course. So it's a 9th. 9th on, yes. 9th to 15th, given there's one scratching in there. So, so still Ben Vickery and Hugh Waitman fighting out the lead in this B final of the schoolboy single scull. And may well be still Hugh Waitman who's got the bow in front of Ben Vickery. Very difficult to line them up. I've been known to say in the past, it's a bit like the straight six at Flemington. You always feel for the commentator when there's one horse out on that outside lane all by himself and 5 other horses down on the inside. It's difficult to line them up, but Hugh Waitman in the traditional two-tone blue of Brisbane Grammar School and Ben Vickery of Hunter Valley Grammar, stroke for stroke. And the B final of the schoolboy single scull. Little to choose between the two of them. But I think it's Hugh Waitman who will go on and win the B final, albeit narrowly, as Vickery comes at him again in the dying stages. No, Hugh Waitman got there first. Vickery second. Then lane 5, Namkai Stellianu was third. A call for a photo. Oliver Miller was 4th. Daniel Webb was 5th. Digby Marshall was 6th. And 7th was the other Brisbane Grammar School sculler, Samuel Atherton. So I've gone out on a limb a bit there. The officials have called for a photo. But I'm reasonably confident. Are you not, Lizzie?
Yeah, I would agree with you. It was just that last stroke, though, wasn't it? So it will be, what is it? It needs to be within 200 of a second.
Yeah. So Hugh Waitman has been declared the winner, yes.
Hugh Waitman, the winner of the B final in the schoolboys single scull. 2nd, Ben Vickery. 3rd, Namkai Stellianu. 4th, Ollie Miller. 5th, Daniel Webb. 6th, Digby Marshall. 7th, Samuel Atherton. The time, 7 minutes, 44.55 seconds. We now have the B final of the schoolgirls coxed 4. In lane 1, Hunter Valley Grammar School. In lane 2, Lauriston Girls. In lane 3, Roseville College. In lane 4, St Catherine's School, New South Wales. In lane 5, a crew from Canberra Girls Grammar stroked by Ella Kerr. In lane 6, a crew from Canberra Girls Grammar stroked by Ella Smethurst. In lane 7, Loretto Kirribilli. In lane 8, PLC Sydney.
And Canberra Girls Grammar led through the 1,000 metre mark nicely as well. Over 4 seconds lead there over Canberra Girls Grammar and Roseville. So Canberra Girls Grammar, 2 crews side by side, lanes 5 and 6. And the crew in lane 5 was the crew that was leading.
And that's the crew of Georgina Wallace, Alice Maxwell, Jenna Order and Ella Kerr, coxed by Andrea Newham and coached by Caroline Pipers. Jenna Order and Georgina Wallace had a very good run through in the double. So great to see them in sweep, moving that as well.
And the traditional colours of the Canberra Girls Grammar boats, I think just about every boat they have has that green on the front and the green on the stern. And they tricked me earlier in the week when Radford College were rowing in a similar boat, and the reason was they'd borrowed it off Canberra Girls Grammar.
So the 2nd Canberra Girls Grammar crew is in lane 6. That's Alexandra McDonough, Olivia Cummins, Ella Ross and Ella Smethurst, coxed by Elizabeth Dixon and coached by Nigel Miller.
Yeah, and I see the Lauriston Girls crew is coached by Alexandra Hagan, so great to see Alex Hagan continuing in the sport, having retired as an athlete. Roseville coached by Gonzalo Briones. He's been at Roseville for a little while now.
He has, yes.
Well-credentialed
ever since
coach.
he met Zita van der Wal.
So a well-credentialed coach, Gonzalo Briones. Nigel Miller coaching the 2nd of the Canberra Girls Grammar crew. Mike Benarius and Lachlan Allen coaching Loretto Kirribilli. And Ashley Pepinell coaching PLC Sydney.
Ash Pep Diddy. Now the Canberra Girls Grammar School is still in the lead at the 1,000 metre mark. At the 500, St Catherine's School, New South Wales was in 2nd place and they're still there. That's the crew of Rosa Hood, Aldira Price, Amelia Cooper and Amy Tainch, coxed by Ava Edwards and coached by Jared Watson and Lara Campbell. Canberra Girls Grammar School 2nd crew was in 3rd, but Roseville, the crew we've mentioned before, coached by Gonzalo Briones, has pushed up into 3rd. That's Alexandra van der Laan de Vries, Katie Ashworth, Alex Brown, Georgie McCardle, coxed by Hannah Clayton.
And they've got some impetus there, Lizzie. They may well end up in second by the end of the race. The St Catherine's School is going to have to dig deep to hold off this fast-finishing Roseville crew as Canberra Girls Grammar go on with the job in Station 5. And the boat named the Tom Roberts, I thought I saw on there. And bow coxed, as most or a lot of the school crews are now, particularly those that race at national championships. We do still see every now and then some stern coxed boats in school rowing, but by the time they get to the nationals, just about all of them are stern bow coxed. And the coxswain in lane 8, PLC Sydney, just having a couple of difficulties there with her steering, but has straightened it up again now.
Seems most unusual. PLC are usually very strong in the women's 4. That's the crew of Olivia Leckie, Phoebe Englert, Annabelle Englert, Esther Rutherford and the cox Michelle Hong hanging on in there. She's straightened them up, but they're unfortunately going to have lost a bit of run from that.
As Canberra Girls Grammar go across first, second St Catherine's School of New South Wales, third will be Roseville, fourth will be the second of the Canberra Girls Grammar crews, fifth then will be PLC Sydney, sixth will be Lane 7 Loretto Kirribility, then follows Lauriston Girls from Melbourne and Hunter Valley Grammar in 8th place.
And the provisional time for that was 7 minutes 40.18 seconds. We now move to the B final of the schoolboys coxed 4. In lane 1, Brighton Grammar. In lane 2, Damascus. In lane 3, St Peter's College. In lane 4, Melbourne Grammar School. In lane 5, St Patrick's College. In lane 6, Wesley College. In lane 7, Ballarat Clarendon. In lane 8, Scotch College.
And a message from Peter Rowdy Howard saying that Joe Brown thrived on calling the straight 6 sprints at Flemington. Thanks, Rowdy. I'm not quite as good as Joe Brown was. So they're spread out over a bit of territory in the schoolboys coxed 4. The Scotch College crew from Victoria in Station 8. Off the pace, which is surprising because Scotch College have got a lot of depth in their program and they're overwhelming favourites to win the last race before lunch, the Schoolboy Coxed 8 Championship of Australia. As St Patrick's College leads, St Patrick's College from Ballarat with Brendan Scott coaching that crew. Then follows Wesley College in second place, Melbourne Grammar third, Ballarat and Clarendon in fourth, St Peter's College fifth, Brighton Grammar sixth, Damascus in seventh and Scotch College in lane 8. And Ballarat and Clarendon, I don't know if he coaches this crew, but it's great to see John Cumper at this year's National Championships, and Cumps is now coaching at Ballarat and Clarendon College. The Wesley College crew coached by Matty Ryan. And again, some very good coaches in this field. John Cumper, of course, went to the Olympics, coaching assistant coach of the women's 8 with Lyle back in 2008, I believe it was, some time ago. As the race really hots up in the lead here, lanes 4 and 5, Melbourne Grammar pushing through now. James Gray, Finn Stevens, William Davey, George Derham, Elliot Ronning. Unfortunately, no coach listed for that crew. And I reckon they've got their bow in front of the early leader, St Patrick's College. They've moved up from third, Melbourne Grammar, at the 1,000-metre mark into second at the 1,500 and would have their bow in front, I'd suggest. Lizzie, what do you think? Crew in lane 4?
Yeah, looks to me as though they, well, yes, definitely. They've done a little push there. We were talking yesterday about the fact that the course is 2,000 metres long, which divides neatly into 4 quarters. And a good crew will have a good race plan and have a way of tackling each of those quarters, which includes putting pushes in, which is where you lift the effort. And as you come into the last 500, you also lift the rate of striking, or the number of strokes per minute. And this crew has definitely done that. Coming into the last 500 metres, the battle between lanes 4 and 5, Melbourne Grammar School and St Patrick's College, Heating up, but Melbourne Grammar most definitely now almost 3/4 of a length. I reckon they'll have a length on them by the end, don't you? And then on the other side, St Peter's College have also lifted and are winding into the finish.
St Peter's coached by James McRae, and the St Pat's College boat called the Christian Ryan, former student of St Patrick's College, very successful in business and an Olympic silver medalist at this course in 2000. As Melbourne Grammar go across first, St Pat's will be second. St Peter's College of Adelaide will be third. Great race for fourth. Lane 7, Ballarat and Clarendon will be fourth. Fifth will be Wesley College. Sixth then will be Brighton Grammar. Seventh will be Damascus, and Scotch College of Victoria will be eighth.
Of course, in these B finals, we often have younger athletes, and there's a terrific learning curve for them. Some great racing there. Melbourne Grammar crossed the line in a provisional time of 6 minutes 53.16, just 1.75 ahead of St Patrick's College, 2.61 to St Peter's, 1.58 to Ballarat, who just overtook Wesley College. And the last stroke, 0.33 was the margin there. So some great racing.
Absolutely. And great recognition from St Pat's of former student there, Christian Ryan, with that boat there. And as I said, winner of the silver medal here in the bow seat, I think, if my memory serves me well, of the Australian 8 here in the last race of the Olympic regatta in 2000.
Remember it well. It was fantastic. This whole regatta reminds me of that regatta, with the water being so beautiful. Right, we have schoolboys again, but this time in a coxed quad. Oh, sorry, schoolgirls. Back to schoolgirls in the coxed quad. The B final again, and in lane 1, MLCQ. In lane 2, Gippsland Grammar. In lane 3, Sydney Girls High. In lane 4, MLC School. That's from Sydney. In lane 5, MLCQ from Melbourne. In lane 6, Strathcona. In lane 7, PLC Melbourne, and in lane 8, St Hilda's.
St Hilda's from Queensland. So there's a bit of confusion here. Yes, MLC School Sydney, MLC Q from Melbourne, and MLCQ has 2 crews.
It does indeed, yes. Maggie Sandals. So the first crew, the one in lane 1, is Ella Ferns, Ebony Klein, Ali Kirby and Maggie Sandals stroking it. Alexandra Wang, the cox, the coach Prudence Doyles. The crew in lane 5 is Laura Fieldhouse, Eloise Webster, Georgia Fraser-Smith and Jessica Noonan, coxed by Millie McLeish and coached by Edward Fuller.
And those 2 crews going nicely in the early stages, but it is the crew from MLCQ in lane 5. The second one that Lizzie mentioned that leads over Strathcona, then follows PLC Melbourne. Gippsland Grammar, St Hilda's from the Gold Coast are in 5th place, MLCQ in 6th, MLC School in 7th, and Sydney Girls in lane 8. So the St Hilda's won the Head of the River year before last, I think it was, for the first time, and they're doing a very good job down there, the program at St Hilda's, and some of those girls then going on to row for Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. So Sean Carolyn was the coach when St Hilda's won their inaugural Head of the River, and Sean here also involved with the Southport School.
It's really good to see that Gold Coast area now really thriving as a centre of rowing, isn't it? There's some fantastic stuff going on there.
Oh, powerhouse club now. Like traditionally in Queensland, your Toowongs and your University of Queensland boat clubs have been where the power has been, and to a lesser extent commercial in recent times in Brisbane and GPS. A presence here from Pine Rivers, and a great presence from that Gold Coast region between Griffith Uni Surfers Paradise. Unfortunately, no one from Tweed Heads here this year that I've seen.
No.
But I have seen Gary Anand, who has traditionally coached at Tweed Heads, but is living at Sanford, not that far away from where I used to live, up until the 11th of February, when I became homeless. And Gary's here coaching at the regatta, and has done a great job for a number of years. And the crew from MLCQ got a nice little lead, but a terrific race for 2nd, 3rd, 4th through to 8th in the schoolgirls coxed quad scull. Very little to choose other than our leader MLCQ.
Just goes to show the strength in depth of our women's rowing across the country. I've been really impressed by how engaged the schoolgirls are, looking around the grandstand, walking around the grounds, attending the lunchtime learnings. This is a sport that women really seem to take to and love. It's very sociable, of course, rowing in a crew. It requires a great amount of self-discipline, especially if you're at school as well, but it really suits high performers, I think. And it is something where you can do training on your own. It's also one of those sports where I think that initially there's a fear that you're going to end up really muscly with the level of training that you do, but that most definitely I don't think that happens with rowing.
A fine example of that was interviewed here a couple of days ago, and Nick Green. Long and lean, he and James Tompkins both were, you know, not massive guns as we say, and but dual Olympic gold medalists. And James, of course, then went on and won a third gold medal with another tall, skinny bloke called Drew Ginn.
Powerhouse of rowing at the Gold Coast. And Jen Horton, who you interviewed as well. And these girls will have listened to her a few times now. Laura Fieldhouse, Eloise Webster, Georgia Fraser-Smith, Jessica Noonan, Millie McLeish, they're on the screen now. They have dominated this race. And although the race has been very close indeed, they've certainly made their mark and will most certainly take out the B final of the schoolgirls Cox Quad Scull.
Strathcona coming home very strongly in the Dying Sages will get second. Third, anybody's guess, I reckon it'll be PLC from Melbourne in lane 7. Will it? Or maybe over lane 4 in 4th place. Then follows Gippsland Grammar in 5th. Sydney Girls will be 6th. MLCQ in Station 1 will be 7th. And St Hilda's from Queensland will be in lane 8. Will be in 8th place, I should say.
Yep, that's how the judges saw it too. So the winners of the schoolgirls Cox Quad Scull B final, MLCQ, 2nd Strathcona, 3rd PLC Melbourne, 4th MLC School, 5th Gippsland Grammar, 6th Sydney Girls, 7th MLCQ, 8th St Hilda's. And the time, 7 minutes 43.27.
And for those of you who think sometimes we're a bit soft when we won't try and call a photo finish, we are about 4 metres in front of the finish line, and there's only one place to really judge a race, and that's right on the finish line.
Sure is. So let's see what the schoolboys can do now in their B final of the Cox Quad Scull. In lane 1, Newington. In lane 2, St Joseph's, New South Wales. In lane 3, Brisbane Boys. In lane 4, Redlands. In lane 5, Kinross Walleroy. In lane 6, Cranbrook. In lane 7, Gippsland Grammar. In lane 8, Pulteney Grammar.
And Brisbane Boys always shortened at the national champions. It's actually Brisbane Boys College.
College, right.
BBC, come on college, green, white, black is what they call, and now coached jointly by Andrew Clatworthy and Zoltan Shepherd, the great Zolly Shepherd, running the program at Brisbane Boys College these days.
Such an experienced coach, especially in the development field, you know, having coached on juniors and under 23 international crews. And very involved in University of Queensland Boat Club for quite a while, and now Brisbane Boys College.
And
before
people
that, South
enjoy
Australia.
rowing in a program that Zoltan runs because there's a bit of fun, there's a bit of laughing, there's hard work.
Oh yes.
But there is a bit of fun, and people usually stay in a program that Zolly is running. So it is Kinross Walleroy very near the lead, I'd suggest. His crew coached by Sarah Cook and her husband Tobias Veer Chandler.
Talking of people whose programs seem to retain really good athletes and who are great at developing young people. Yes, this is the crew of Henry Ponder, Thomas Richardson, Cody Kelso and Richard King. Harrison Straw is their cox, and as we said, coaches Sarah Cook and Tobias Ware-Candler. Power couple.
Power couple, yes. Had a quick chat to Toby a couple of days ago up in the grandstand. Sarah been very busy here at the regatta. She wears a number of hats, including the New South Wales Councillor to Rowing Australia.
And President of Sydney University Boat Club.
And in her spare time, a commentator, and now also a steward at Henley
Royal Regatta, yes.
So moving into 3rd place. Now, the Brisbane Boys College crew has moved clearly into 2nd place, I would suggest, behind Kinross Walleroy.
And moving into 3rd is the crew from Redlands, which is Mitchell Simpson, Max Durrant, Alec Price and Alexander Holt-Hoyer, coxed by Alex Coney, coached by Zaba Zaz, Lachlan Murnahan and James Petering.
And I'm glad that you said that because I had no idea how to pronounce that gentleman's name.
I don't either, and I really hope that I haven't offended them.
So Kinross, Walleroy and Brisbane Boys College. BBC, let's call them. That's what they're affectionately, that's the colloquial term used. And they're coming home with a wet sail, BBC. Kinross, Walleroy hanging on to the lead they established in the early stages of the race. But BBC have got the beat up. The Kinross crew's pretty big. They look like big young men. They've just responded to that challenge now. Will go on and win the B final. I don't think Brisbane Boys College can peg them back. No, they can't. It'll be Kinross Walleroy first. Brisbane Boys College will be second. Pushing through, Redlands will finish in third place. Fourth will be Coast between lane 6 and lane 1. I think lane 6 will be fourth. Lane 1, Newington will be fifth. Then St Joseph's will be sixth. Seventh will be Pulteney Grammar and eighth will be Gippsland Grammar.
Yeah, great finish there from Newington. Really pushed on up into fifth place. But first was Kinross Walleroy. Second was Brisbane Boys College. Third was Redlands. Fourth, Cranbrook. Good finish from them too. Newington pushed back into fifth. St Joseph's sixth. Pulteney Grammar seventh. Gippsland Grammar eighth. Time for that race, 6 minutes 45.03 seconds.
And we're underway in the B final of schoolgirls Coxed 8, Lizzie.
We are. Lane 1, St Catherine's School. This is the one from Victoria. Lane 2, MLCQ. Lane 3, Scotch College, Adelaide. Lane 4, Seymour College. Lane 5, Melbourne Girls Grammar. Lane 6, Collegiate, so that's Derwent Mercantile Collegiate. Lane 7, Genazzano. Lane 8, Geelong Grammar.
And Ruby Hetherington in the Seymour College crew celebrating her 16th birthday today. So happy birthday to Ruby. And that crew coached by Eleanor Wilson, who used to row for Brisbane and GPS and has moved to South Australia with her partner Jonathan Trovis. And she's coaching this Seymour College crew that finished second in the head of the river there. The winning crew actually was coached by former national team athlete Bryn Coudray. So Bryn coaching the winners of the women's head and James McRae coaching the winners of the men's head. So two guys who rode for South Australia, rode for Australia. Jimmy, of course, winning 2 Olympic medals. I think he went 4th, 3rd, 2nd in his 3 Olympics and doing a terrific job at St Peter's, which is now Director of Sport there now is Barnaby Eaton, of course.
Indeed.
So Scotch College from Adelaide are our leaders. The crew, another South Australian crew out there in the lead in Station 3.
That's Georgina Tager, Harriet Watson, Chloe Hooper, Grace Seppelt, Philippa Smith, Lucy Kittle, Lucy Sperling and Charlotte McTaggart, coxed by Chloe Morris.
And one might think that Grace could be the daughter of James Seppel, or are we assuming things here?
In the Derwent Mercantile Collegiate crew, who are pressing up hard against Scotch College Adelaide, we have Georgia Sayers, Elia Kelleher, Ebony Taylor, Annie Bignell, Penelope Bowman, Lily Fisher, Jessica Stevens, Eva Davis, and their cox Clementine Harris. They're coached by Neil Stump and Courtney Blythe.
Neil does a great job there at St Michael's Collegiate and has done for a while. He's a very experienced coach in Tassie, and it's a great race looking out the window. Lane 3, very prominent, Scotch College Adelaide, but on their bow side pushing through, I reckon St Michael's Collegiate are right there with them, and they have hit the front there. They were in front at 500, still in front at the 1,000, and they're approaching the 1,500 metre mark. And they would be in the lead still, I suggest, over Scotch College of Adelaide, then follow Seymour College, Melbourne Girls Grammar, St Catherine's, Genazzano, MLCQ and Geelong Grammar.
Yeah, we mentioned Ruby Hetherington in the Seymour College crew, but she's joined by Jocelyn Kelly, Eliza Whetstone, Ruby Bater, Alexis Derogi, Gabby Huxtable and Dana Higginbottom, Nicola Gordon stroking and Charlotte Arben coxing.
And Scotch College Adelaide have hit the lead at the 1,500 metre mark and is appearing to be almost a length clear. So they've had a great
big
third
push.
500. Yes.
Yeah.
The championship quarter in an AFL game and often the championship quarter of a 2,000 metre rowing race. So it is Scotch College Adelaide have taken the lead away from St Michael's Collegiate of Tasmania. And then a great race for third place. Genazzano pushing through along with Melbourne Girls Grammar and Seymour College. Then across on the far side, St Catherine's School of Victoria, MLCQ and Geelong Grammar closest to the grandstand.
St Catherine's School coming home fast. That's the crew of Sophie Hogan, Georgie Green, Ali Hall, Francesca King, Chloe Rogers, Lucy Mottram, Lara Natras, Charlotte Murdoch and their cox Ella Carton pushing home hard.
And Scotch College are stroked on the bow side. All good bow siders love to see that. Cut a bow sider in half and make 2 stroke siders.
I've never heard that one before.
Well, only said by a bow sider. So the Scotch College crew going for home. They're going to win the B final in fine style. Scotch College Adelaide Schoolgirls Coxed 8 B final is in their keeping. The crew from St Michael's Collegiate from Tasmania will finish in 2nd place. And have a look at the race for 3rd. St Catherine's School from Victoria, MLCQ from Victoria, Seymour College, Melbourne Girls Grammar, all in the hunt for 3rd place. And the drive to the line, Scotch College Adelaide first, Collegiate second, Lane 1 will get 3rd, St Catherine's, then follows MLCQ, Melbourne Girls Grammar, Seymour College, Genazzano and Geelong Grammar. Cracking race.
Absolutely. So Scotch College Adelaide taking out the B final of the Schoolgirls Coxed 8 in fine form and crossing in a time of 7 minutes 3.51. In 2nd it was Collegiate, in 3rd St Catherine's School, in 4th MLCQ, in 5th Melbourne Girls Grammar, in 6th Seymour College, in 7th Genazzano and in 8th Geelong Grammar.
Cracking race. Well done to those schoolgirl 8s, as there's a lot of splashing going on at the start line, Lizzie.
Must be schoolboys.
Schoolboys Coxed 8 underway, I'd suggest.
Schoolboys Coxed 8 B final. Oh, great vision there if you're watching the live stream or looking at the screens around the ground. Christchurch are in lane 1, so as you're looking on the TV screen, that's across on your left. If you're here on the grounds, it's the one on the far side to the grandstand. Xavier are in 2. Scotch College Victoria, unfortunately, have withdrawn. Geelong College are in 4. Hutchins from Tasmania in 5. St Joseph's from New South Wales in 6, Scotch Oakburn from Tasmania in 7, and Wesley College from Victoria are in lane 8.
So Scotch College, that would be the number 2 crew. This is also the number 2 Christchurch crew from Western Australia. Xavier first, the Geelong College first, Hutchins first, I'd imagine, St Joseph, New South Wales, they're first. Lizzie? Not sure, I would think so.
Yeah. Not sure.
And Scotch Oakburn from Tasmania and Wesley College from Victoria. That crew coached by Matty Ryan. I hope he's followed every race on a bicycle.
He'll have done so many miles, and he's thin enough as it is.
One of the camera cars covered 450 kilometres yesterday.
Good Lord, really?
Yeah, up and down, up and down, up and down. 450 Ks, the cameraman told me late in the day, in one day.
Goodness me.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, I hope you've got some sort of odometer on your bicycle. We would like a report, please.
Well, he's done enough exercise for you, me and him.
And he's got a terrific team of coaches, including Hannah Every Hall. So I think just some wonderful people doing a great job there, and it's great to see Wesley College doing so well. Unfortunately, in 7th position at the moment out of our 7 racers in this final, but it's all very, very close. St Joseph's, New South Wales in the lead at the 500 metre mark by 0.57 of a second over Christchurch. Then it's back another 1.5 seconds to Hutchins. Xavier sitting just half a second behind them in 4th. Scotch Oakburn in 5th. Geelong College in 6th and Wesley College in 7th. But anyone can be first to the first 500.
It's the last mark that counts. St Joseph's coached by Ross Tong and Charlie Rowe. Charlie Rowe's been coaching as long as I've been doing this, so I'm not familiar with Ross Tong, Lizzie.
Comes from New Zealand and was the coach of Ian Wright when he was rowing. Ian Wright, our head coach of the National Training Centre.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ian was coached by Richard Tonks at one stage as well, I believe.
And Ross is I don't know if we can see it. We don't see it quite so much when they're up at rate, but particularly skilled at teaching people that technique where you park at the finish.
It's patience, Lizzie.
Yes, patience.
At the finish. That's what it's not a park, it's not a pause, it's patience.
Now, this crew from St Joseph's, New South Wales is Harry Curtin in the bow seat, Lucas Easton at 2, Robbie Matchett at 3, Joe McCauley at 4, Matt Smith has come in at 5 for Nicholas Miro, Joshua Hewitt is at 7, Harry Skinner's at 7, and Nick Rath is in the stroke seat. Nick, who also rows at Mossman Rowing Club and I believe won under-19 men's either coxed or coxless fours. Jack Lewis is the cox here, and as we said, the coaches are Ross Tong and Charlie Rowe, and they're still keeping their bows in front, just a canvas lead.
The bowman Harry Curtin, is he another one of the famous Curtin rowing
There's
family?
so many curtains in
many
the
curtains.
rowing scene. I don't know that they're even all related.
So the Hutchins crew from Tasmania is pushing through there onto St Joseph's from New South Wales at the moment.
That's the crew of Oscar Campbell, Chap McPherson, Tom Verney, Will Hodgman, Harry Black, Dylan Taylor, Chris Law, Will Jackson and their cox Sebastian Fry. They're coached by Sam Manson, Tom Allwright and Alex Thompson.
Will Hodgman, wasn't he the Premier of Tasmania? He's pretty busy if he's out here rowing and schoolboy rowing.
Pretty young too.
To be the Premier. Then across to the Geelong College, right in the mix as well. And across then to Xavier, an improved performance from Xavier. And Jason Izadorsky coaching that Xavier crew. Christchurch from Western Australia on the far side of the course, and on this side, the Wesley College crew, coached by Olympic silver medalist and all-round good bloke, Matty Ryan.
Okay, we've just had the placings as they cross through the 1,500 metre mark. It's all very close, but Hutchins have taken the lead. Xavier have pushed up to second. St Joseph's look as though either they're tiring or they've got a big push yet to come in this last 500.
Yeah, I thought Hutchins had drawn level over there, but I had not really considered Xavier as being right up there, but they've moved from 4th to 2nd in that all-important third 500 metres. But it is the Tasmanians who've taken the lead, coached by Sam Manson, Tom Allwright and Alex Thompson. The Hutchins School got their bow in front of St Joseph's from New South Wales. Xavier on the far side of the course in 3rd place, I reckon. They're calling them 2nd, but it's very, very close. And the only crew that can't finish in the top 3, I reckon, is Wesley College in Station 8.
Although they've stayed close to the pack, haven't they? And I would imagine they're quite young and pretty gallant row coming from them. Just looking at this Xavier crew, they're finishing well. This is Spencer McNamara, William Benston, Matthew McDonoghue, Max Neve, Patrick Somerville, Joseph Clausen, Samuel War and Ross Agalopoulos, with Christoph Wellink coxing them.
And they're coming home with a wet sail, the crew from Xavier. There's no doubt about that. Hutchins hanging on to the lead they established in the third 500. Xavier trying to come at them. I've often said if you can't be in the A final, impressively win the B final, and that's what Hutchins are going to do. It'll be Hutchins first. Great race for second. Xavier and Joey. Xavier second. Joey's third. 4th then, the Geelong College. 5th, Christchurch from Western Australia. 6th, Scotch Oakburn. And 7th is Wesley College.
So just confirming that was a great win in the B final there in the schoolboy 8s for Hutchins. They crossed in a provisional time of 6 minutes 16.96 seconds. Xavier from Western Australia were second. St Joseph's from New South Wales were third. Geelong College from Victoria were 4th. Christchurch 5th. Scotch Oakburn 6th. Wesley College 7th.
Thanks, Lizzie. You and I are going to have a break. We're going to come back for the interstate races. Owen Nix and Richard Dorstein have done a fantastic job for the whole 7 days. They'll bring you the first bracket of finals right through until the lunch break, culminating with the Schoolboy H Championship of Australia. And Lizzie and I will bring you the rest of the program. I've got to go and get changed for some formalities in the lunch break. So,
do your hair and makeup, darling?
Well, I'm not sure. There's not much hair left to do, Lizzie. But thanks to Owen Nix and Richard Dorstein, who will bring you the remainder of the morning's program, and they'll have a lot of medal presentations to contend with.
Thank you to Lizzie Chapman and Ray Ebbett for the past hour or so, but we are on to the first of our A finals and presentations to follow shortly. This is the club women's double scull, and you heard the field there as Lizzie introduced them. They're through 1500 now, and it's pretty close between the two crews in the centre of the course. Griffith University, Surfers Paradise, Mansell and Bitsios, and Swan River, Noonan and O'Callaghan. They've been first and second most of the way through this race, and just 3/4 of a second separated them as they came through 1500. And it's barely that now, about a canvas. You can see up on screen there the lane 4 combination just ahead of the lane 5 crew, but a great finish in prospect here in the first of our A finals race, 489, the club women's double scull. So Jade Mansell and Monique Bitsios, coached by Lincoln Handley at the Griffith University Surfers Paradise Club on the Gold Coast. And they are being challenged now in the closing strokes by Vivian Noonan and Elizabeth O'Callaghan from the Swan River Rowing Club in Western Australia. They're coached by Jack Fisher and Mark Beer. Third place, the Melbourne Rowing Club, Tanya Nishibata and Zoe Gamble. The three crews prominent now as they do approach the grandstand, but it's getting very close between our top two. Swan River in 5, Griffith Uni in 4, Melbourne in 3 look to be in the bronze medal place, although they're going out after our leading two crews. And then over the far side, Banks possibly sitting 4th, or Mossman on this side. But the medalists will come from the centre of the course in the first of our A finals today. Jade Mansell and Monique Bitsios being challenged in the closing strokes by Vivian Noonan and Elizabeth O'Callaghan, and also there Tanya Nishibata and Zoe Gamble from the Melbourne Rowing Club. A line of 3 boats across the course, but the lead still with the one farthest away from the camera. Lane 4, Griffith University Surfers Paradise leads this race by probably getting out close to a boat length now as they move up on the finish line with only 3 or 4 strokes to go. It's Griffith University from Swan River and Melbourne as they come to the line, and Griffith University Surfers Paradise win the women's club double scull. Second place goes to Swan River. Third, lane 6, the crew from the Melbourne Rowing Club. Over then to Banks in lane 2 in 4th place. Close for 5th. It'll go to Mossman on this side, just from Sydney Uni on the far side of the course. Then lane 3, the crew from Fremantle and Pine Rivers in 8th place.
And unofficial results, Griffith University Surfers Paradise taking it out in 7:48.12, just 2.59 seconds ahead of Swan River in 2nd, and a further 1.62 seconds back to Melbourne in 3rd. Banks were 4th, Mossman in 5th, Sydney University 6th, 7th Fremantle, and Pine Rivers with a different combination, who were the holders last year, they placed 8th. Club women's 4s are just taking their first strokes in the field that we have. The Australian National University in lane number 1. Lane 2, Sydney Rowing Club are scratching. Lane 3, we have Adelaide Rowing Club. Lane 4, Buckingham. Lane 5, Sydney University Boat Club. Lane 6, UTS. Lane 7, Melbourne University Boat Club. And lane number 8, Australian National University with their second boat.
Thanks, Alan. There's 2 crews from the Australian National University on either side of the course there. And no appearance from Sydney there in lane 2. So a field of 7 in the club women's coxless 4 final, which is just underway. And you can see the crews there now through the first couple of 100 metres. Melbourne Uni in lane 7, Sydney Uni in lane 5 in the yellow boat there in the centre of the course, narrowly ahead. In lane 3 also the Adelaide Rowing Club. That'd be our top 3 crews in the early stages. The West Australian Rowing Club, the title holders in this race, having won it a year ago, but not present at this year's regatta, at least not in the final of this race. So we'll have a new winner, and presentations, of course, to follow shortly after these races. They're getting ready in the presentation area right now for the club women's double scull race, which has just been completed. So it is Sydney Uni, lane 5. Portia Gaskell, Sophie Houston, Danielle Stewart and Sarah Parsons, coached by Alfie Young. And they've gone out to probably almost half a length now over Adelaide in 2nd place as they go through the first 500 metres in 1:42.94, the crew from the Sydney University Boat Club. And they had just on 1 second over Adelaide after 500. They're a little bit past that timing point now, and I reckon that lead stretched out to more like 2 to 2.5 seconds, and getting out towards a boat length on Adelaide in second place. Anna Collins, Jill Crow, Mika Webb, Ain Seed, the crew coached by Catherine McDougall, Darren Potts and Ron Mobbs. And then Melbourne University, third place back over this side of the course in lane 6. They were 1.8 seconds further back at 500. That's Bayer Klein Van Mullicum, Peter Rack, Samantha Beveridge, Justine Tonner-Joyce and Nicholas Stevenson, the coach of that crew. Big name in the UTS crew there too. I want to see Monique Heinke is in this race for the University of Technology Sydney in lane 6, a dual Olympian. And I think right here in the Sydney Games and Athens as well.
That's right, yeah. So, some 3 years on the team in sculling, 3 years of sweep, and Monique Heinke, vastly experienced there, stroking that UTS crew that's coming into view. And also a lot of experience, Justine Tonner-Joyce, who's the stroke of the Melbourne University Boat Club crew, rode for Australia in the mid-90s. So they've got a very experienced crew. B. Klein Van Mullicum won the over 50 single at Nationals Masters last year. So they've got plenty of experience and people who, were at the height of their rowing powers before some of the other people in this race were even born.
Yes, last century in some cases, as Ray Ebbett would probably say. But Sydney Uni have extended out now to what's becoming a comfortable lead, 4 3/4 seconds over Adelaide Rowing Club in second place. Sydney Uni 3:30.60, so on track for around about 7 minutes in this final of the club women's coxless 4. Which, as we noted earlier, was a similar time to the schoolboy first eights were doing, into a roaring headwind late yesterday afternoon, but far more placid and comfortable conditions here this morning for these rowers, and will hopefully continue throughout the day. It's warming up slowly, now up to about 16 degrees here at Penrith. It was around about 12 degrees when we arrived early this morning when the sun was still rising, but it's certainly gradually warming up. It should be a great day of racing here at Penrith, and some wonderful shots coming through from the drone. A great addition to our coverage this year, those drone shots just showing you so much more of the action. You can see the relative placement of the crews, not coming down quite in the required arrow formation there, Owen, but it is the leading crew in the centre of the course. Sydney University now clearly out in front.
Yes, Melbourne University are certainly not playing with that arrowhead formation there out of lane number 7. They're putting in a good performance there in the third place spot. But on screen, Sydney University, the race leaders, young crew, Portia Gatescall, Sophie Houston, Danielle Stewart and Sarah Parsons. Sarah Parsons originally from the ACT, and Sophie Houston formerly of Queenwood School, where Alpha Young is Director of Rowing as well.
They're at 1,500 metres now. Our leaders have gone through from Sydney University. They've extended their lead at each timing point so far, and it looks like they have done so again. Almost 7.5 seconds now over the Adelaide Rowing Club in second place. They're in a very good battle with Melbourne Uni for the silver and bronze medals. Adelaide across in lane 3 and Melbourne Uni close to this side, lane 7. There's 0.7 of a second between those two crews. Then Buckingham from Tasmania in the centre lane of the course, but back in 4th place. The University of Technology Sydney, the Monique Heinke stroke crew in lane 6. And then the two crews from the Australian National University having a really good race of their own, but they are on opposite sides in lanes 8 and 1, but less than half a second between those two crews from ANU, but they are fighting out for 6th and 7th places at this stage. So Sydney Uni have led this race pretty much from the first couple of strokes. We saw them pushing that yellow empacker out into the front in the early part of the race, and they have really extended all the way down the course now. 7.5 seconds they had at 1,500, and they continue to hold a comfortable lead ahead of a good race for second and third. The silver medal still to be decided. Adelaide Rowing Club over in 3, Melbourne Uni on this side, and Buckingham from Tasmania in lane 4 there, the yellow colours, coming through fairly strongly in the closing strokes, but I'm not sure if they've enough water left to move up into a medal spot. Then UTS 5th and ANU 6th and 7th. But Sydney University, it is our race leaders here in the closing strokes of the club women's coxless 4. They are well clear of both Adelaide and Melbourne University fighting out for second and third. I'd favour Adelaide narrowly at this stage for the silver medal, but still a few strokes to go there. But it is Sydney University who take out the Club Women's Coxless 4 Championship of Australia. Sydney Uni first, a comfortable win in the end by about 2.5 lengths it will be. Adelaide Rowing Club over on the far side will take second place. Third on this side, Melbourne University. Fourth goes to the crew from Buckingham. Fifth will be the University of Technology, Sydney. And sixth and seventh, as we know, it'll be the Australian National University in both places. Lane 1, it'll be in sixth, and lane 8 in seventh position.
And unofficial results, Sydney University first in a time of 7 minutes 13.19, 7.52 seconds back to Adelaide Rowing Club in second. Melbourne University third, a further 1.84 seconds back. Buckingham from Tasmania fourth, UTS fifth, ANU on the far side sixth, and ANU on the near side finishing seventh. Presentation of medals for the Club Women's Double Scull Championship of Australia. And the medals will be presented by Red Aliff, Olympic gold medal winning coach and Australian rowing team alumni. Third place and bronze medalist representing Melbourne Rowing Club, Tanya Nishibata. And Zoe Gamble. Second place and silver medalist representing Swan River Rowing Club, Vivian Noonan. And Elizabeth O'Callaghan. Coaches Jack Fisher and Mark Beer. Gold medalists and Australian champions for 2019. Griffith University Surfers Paradise Rowing Club, Jade Mansell. Monique Bitsios. Coach Lincoln Handley. Please congratulate the 2019 Australian champions and medalists.